plane load of incredible personalities. There was a Lance Polanski, Eddie Mangold, Robert Block, Psycho Faye, Lake George Canal gave us the time machine and the stars in India. Lightning was flying around the plane and looking down at the Amazon River. The Hungry Toronto was coming up looking to get free air on the crash. And he nothing better than to beat up Lamparella, the Texas, the Dracula, and the pilot Dracula, where the better smoke was the trophy. They lined over 100. What's up? What they was. We're fighting. On us, and the creator turned it over to me and I was calling him, and I'm okay. What's the difference in reality? And more with the phone. Well, I don't know. I'm probably going to do
Well, it's July, it's not July, it's June 7th, 2020, and still in the process of trying to organize this comic room, and a lot of things have happened since the last video. Get some light on it here. Well, one thing, I retired from work, and after being there like almost 25 years, so that happened last week. So that's something new. And then I had this scary thing happen. I was driving in my car the other day and felt like a bug was in my eye, like squashed in my eye, or I was looking at the asphyx floating around or something. But it was, so we went to the ophthalmologist and see if something had happened to my eye, and I guess I broke a blood vessel in my eye, and then that'll I have to go back on Wednesday. Today's Monday, so he didn't seem to think it was anything too bad, but supposed to relax and make sure I don't lift anything heavy, or I need to sleep upright. But main thing I've been doing lately are these cardboard displays I got from a guy on eBay. If you just type in Aurora Monster Standees, you'll see he's got just about every Aurora model kit ever made. And I talked with him. According to him, his story is, I guess he was about 4 years old, about 1970, and he broke his, he says he broke his leg, and there was a drugstore near him in Kentucky called the Ravenna drugstore. And there was an old guy there that was real nice that worked there, and apparently they had a big model kit section in this drugstore, and they had on display all the monster standees from the beginning, and the guy just brought a bag over and just gave them all to him because he knew he liked monsters. And now he kept them all these years, and then he got some from someone else that also got them from that drugstore, and he's photoshopped, cleaned them up, and made replicas, and that's what these are supposed to be. And I want to believe that story, and I've never seen them anywhere else. He thinks they may be, one of a kind. The only existing copies, but I'm not really 100% sure if they're not just a fantasy item. I mean, I don't want to be too cynical, but some of them look better than others. So I got a set of 24. But anyway, this is what I've been doing with the room. Just put up some Carnival freak show banners, and I'm still organizing this mess and trying to separate Silver Age from Bronze Age comics. And I realized that I need to carry around in my pocket. I got it right here. I'm finding a lot of cool stuff, by the way. I need to see. All wrote out like a caveman issues of Fantastic Four that I need, so I don't keep buying the same issues over and over again. Because apparently, in the 1980s, I guess when I was a teenager, I was going to Lone Star Comics and buying a lot of issues of Fantastic Four in just like good condition. And so there's a lot of issues I had that I didn't really realize I had. Like last video, I was talking about how great it was that I got Fantastic Four 31. See, this is the one I just picked up. But I didn't realize I already had it. And then, here they've got this. I've had this for years. Someone kept the title on. That's the earliest issue I have, number 15. But I've got a lot of them. And, I've got the. Let's see. So, see, I have 2 copies of that issue. And, yeah, I've got that one. Look at this. You'll love this. If I can focus on it. Come on, focus. Oh, that's another thing. My phone died, and I got a brand new one. See how it says VG on there between the 4 and 9? Lone Star Comics used to write the condition on the comic in the 1980s. They're now mycomicshop.com. So if you ever get an issue, old comic, and I think if I can focus on, yeah, they wrote that this is in good condition. See, it's good condition because they wrote on the cover. The first appearance of Black Panther in good condition. Because it says so, they wrote it right on the cover. I guess it's in pencil, and in theory, they think you can just erase it. See, I picked this up half price for $15 and didn't realize I already had it because I bought it almost 40 years ago. Yeah, I was buying a ton of these. And then I bought this issue 2, 3 times. So and this issue twice. So I've been doing things smart and writing down which ones I have. Here's a autographed picture to me from Betty Page. I made a copy of it because the original, well, I kept the original, but the writing's still fine, but the photo, I guess it wasn't in the fixer long enough and it started to fade. So what I really got to do is just crop out that signature. You can tell it's kind of changing color around it. But I made a copy before the picture could go bad. Anyway, that's just sitting here. I need to move this. And the picture of Donald Trump, I just made a copy of.
You are watching a pre-recorded broadcast. You're watching the best of the Gratu Orloff show.
This is not, but all these you can get for $1 at Family Dollar, or whatever it's called, no, Dollar Tree. Get all those stupid dollar stores mixed up. Where am I with this? It's just like, I'll get this place done pretty quick. We have a visitor in the house now that's staying for God knows how long. And it's kind of cramped my style a little bit. I don't have as much freedom to move around. Some new stuff that I've been getting. I don't have the lights turned on like I normally do because my eyes are a little sensitive. But see if there's anything interesting that I picked up lately. Has to be something. I've been getting more issues of Famous Monsters to fill in holes in my collection. Here's a copy. I've never had a copy of Frenzy, a Mad Imitator from the late 50s. Here's one of these. Hope that wasn't drawn by Tony Tallarico. Tony Tallarico is like the world's worst artist. Here's an issue of Confederate Veteran magazine. I found it on an antique mall. Got some old Mads that I didn't have. Issue of Scream. I like old horror magazines. Anyway, geez, what have I done? Just moved a few things around. I don't know what you can really tell what I've done of any consequence. What have I done? it's oh well, you know, like let's see. Oh, I picked up a few comics lately too. What's that down there? That's a print by a late friend of mine, Joe Riley. Did that in 1996. I worked with him on a public access show called The Hypnotic Eye, which was a lot of fun to do. I worked on it with him on some of the early episodes. He passed away about, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when MySpace was still a thing. He passed away, so it was a while back. Some of the new great talent. Let's see. Man, I gotta get better lighting. I have an idea. I'll turn around. Maybe get some better lighting. Next time I'll light better. I'm just doing this on the fly. Oh, I had to get a new phone. My phone, I was coming home from my last day at work when I retired, and the air conditioning went out in my car. It's like 90 degrees, stop and go traffic. And then I had the fun of my phone just completely died, even though it was 50% charged. So we had insurance and get another phone. So that's and hopefully this doesn't have the clicking, because the last videos I made here sounded like they were being shown on an old 8mm projector. It was clicking, and hopefully that doesn't happen. So I like these old Jerry Lewis's, Lux Instrumentus, and some of the Fantastic Fours I've been buying. And don't pay attention to the prices because they were on sale. Just ones that were not in my collection, 69, 70. You know, you just don't get the coloring on the newly reprinted books that reprint all the old issues. You don't get this coloring, which I assume was done by Marie Severin. The coloring started to get brighter there. 78, 83. I'm gradually going to fill in all the holes. I may never fill the holes of the very first issues, because especially now that I'm retired, but most of these I've been getting at Duncanville Books. Oh, that's got a date stamp. I noticed that. What does that have there? Always interesting to see where these books have come from. Come on, focus. And I can't even see close up because my eye. Hopefully this floater will go for my eye. This was $2. It's got a huge damage spot. You know, it's good reading copy. I love Sugar and Spike, and you should too. Always pick up. It's a tradition in June, early June, every summer. Try to pick up 70s Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, and I wind up getting multiple copies because I forget which ones I have. But I just remember in the late 70s, mowing the lawn for the first time. I remember the exact spot I was in when I first, started mowing, and I was earning money to buy comics. And I remember buying Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes right after Star Wars came out, and they were all wearing their kind of 70s disco-looking outfits. And so summer means reading comics, drinking Coca-Cola, and Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. So it's like a tradition. Try to buy some at the beginning of the summer to kind of kick it off. I know it's not really summer yet, but summer for me, having been a student for so many years and then being in the education field, summer begins with the beginning of June to me. And, my mother and I, before she passed away in 2001, we were watching, we got addicted to watching that show on CBS. It's embarrassing to tell you the Big Brother show. You know, we watched the first season together, and then the second season she was in the hospital and she passed away that summer. But every year since then, I've watched Big Brother religiously, like an insane maniac, and you may judge me by that, but you know, I'm sure there's other things you could hate me for. But anyway, the heck. Anyway, I'm just kind of concerned. Is it going to be on this year because of this virus that everyone seems to have forgotten about in the last week? All of a sudden, it's okay to be in huge crowds if you look on the news. But anyway, I don't want to get too political with that. This is the state of disaster that I'm in, and I mean, it could be worse. It could have been through a hurricane. I'm praying for those people down in Louisiana that I think are going to get hit today. I will come back up here later today or soon with more light. So, but these aurora displays were something I waited for a month. Apparently, I don't know what it was. The guy's email got shut down by AT&T or something, and then he said he mailed the package and it came back to him. And then I don't know. Then finally he sent it, and I took about a month. I was so anxious to get him. So they have he has two of the hunchbacks, both faces. One has Anthony Quinn's face, and one doesn't. Just I guess they switched the box art because of copyright. And then the theater room is in a equal state of the cats are living in here now because our visitor took over the guest bedroom where the cats hang out. And so now I feel really bad. This is another one of those aurora displays that I got from the guy. And is it something that Aurora really put out? I really am wanting to believe that it is. But then I believed in Santa Claus a lot longer than the average person. Someone at work had these in her room, and I said, "Hey, do you realize that you found those in the closet, and those are from the 1950s?" And she said, "You can have it." She just was, sometimes in closets you can find some really amazing old stuff. So this is the movie theater room. That's Alan, who I don't know how he got so fat with I don't feed him that much. So yeah, I've got to get some organizing done, and I'm going to get started on that. Geez. So I haven't seen many comic book videos being put up lately. Kind of miss all the regulars that, what is going on with my stereo here? Come on. So there's anything fascinating in here. Yeah, these Aurora posters are pretty cool. These I got from someone in New York, and I think they might be real. Okay, come on. So,
Six Flags Mall is the largest shopping center in Tarrant County the area's first regional shopping facility, and the second largest such complex in Texas. 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been possible to construct the facility. There were barely that many businesses between Dallas and Fort Worth. The mall has almost 100 different stores and businesses now. More than just a shopping facility, the mall is also an economic indicator. It seems to refute the contention that the Mid-Cities area is being severely affected by the national economic slump. Despite that slump, Six Flags Mall was crowded today as soon as the doors opened. People have money to spend, and if the mall is any adequate indication, they're eager to spend it. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move at Six Flags Mall.
You are watching the best of the Grotto Orloff Show. These episodes are pre-recorded. A new episode of the Grotto Orloff Show will be uploaded in a few hours. Thank you.
Well, it's June 18th, 2020. This used to be, before it was torn down, the location of the Six Flags Mall, which is a mall I remember from my childhood. I first went there in the summer of '72 when we came to visit Arlington. And yeah, it was right all in here. You can see online SMU University. If you go, just type in to YouTube and right back there was the movie theater where I saw Star Wars in 1977. If you type in SMU WFAA into YouTube, you'll get this archive of color and black and white news footage from WFAA Channel 8 in Dallas. And they've donated all their news footage for preservation to SMU, and then they're putting it up on YouTube, and you can see like the opening day of the Six Flags Mall. Driving along here, heading into Grand Prairie to go to Cosmic Comics. I haven't been there in a good while. Definitely not since the Wuhan plague started. We're going to be going through downtown Grand Prairie. I'll tell you that that mall had good record stores and toy stores. It had Walden Books in it, but it was not as good as the Century Bookstore at the Forum Mall, which was over that way. Oh, there's a cool 50s hotel. Get that in a shot. The Forum Mall was also torn down. Six Flags Mall a little bit more recently. It held on in life support a little bit longer. It also was the first video arcade I'd ever been to in the back of the Six Flags Mall. But when we went there in the summer of '72 to visit my brother who was going to UTA, that's where I got my little PVC Groovy Ghoulies figures. We used to go there to eat at Luby's Cafeteria, where they had the Luann platter, and the character in King of the Hill is named after that. Luby's is a chain of cafeterias that started in San Antonio. What else? yeah, the bookstore at the Forum Mall had all the monster magazines and everything, and Walden Books just wasn't quite as good. They had a toy store in there for a while in the late 70s, maybe early 80s, called Circus World. Remember, that was the first time I ever saw the He-Man figures that were Conan inspired, and then they were really cool until they started the Saturday morning cartoon or syndicated cartoon, and then that kind of takes away the play value for kids for action figures when you kind of can't come up with your own storyline. You're stuck with some storyline that the Filmation people came up with. But that was a little after my time. I was born in '65, so the toys of the '70s have more, more nostalgia for me. But the He-Man stuff, I appreciated the sculpting and thought, boy, this is some cool stuff coming out. But then the TV show kind of made it, to me, seem a little less cool. But then, I was in college then, so I don't mean to insult those of you that grew up with that stuff. Pretty much up here, there's a little downtown that we're going to be going through in Grand Prairie that has an old movie theater that has been, I think they have plays in it now, and I don't know. It's not that I don't really know anything that Grand Prairie is known for. It's mentioned in the movie Bonnie and Clyde briefly. And I think Warren Beatty said something about going to Grand Prairie. But it's kind of a place where most people, I don't want to insult people in Grand Prairie. What am I doing? It's just it's a place you don't probably want to live. There's a Mexican restaurant I've never been to. That's good. Let's see. So in June of 2020, that is the price of gas. Right now, we're just coming out of the COVID 2019 fiasco. Everybody's starting to realize that maybe it's over now that everyone's out in crowds and very peacefully burning down buildings right next to each other, that maybe it's over because although they're wearing masks, but that's mainly to cover their identity, I think. So people think, well, maybe it's okay to not wear the mask. So now I noticed the last 2 days, social media, they're really starting up a campaign to shame people that aren't wearing masks. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to start a new wave of this Corona. Remember when it was called Corona back in the? It's gone through several names, but maybe the Corona Beer Company said, "Hey, come on, give us a break." And now it's the Cohab Bibble Bibble Wuhan 2019 virus. I don't remember. Yeah, there it is up there, the Uptown Theater. Never been inside that theater, so I can't tell you much about it. But it's there used to be an antique mall up here that was kind of good, but that was over 10 years ago. So I haven't driven this strip in a while, so maybe there's something new that's opened up in here, antiques or something. I just came from a physical, so I'm just on my way home. I just had blood drawn, unpleasant. I had to wait in the parking lot until they called me to go in, and I had to have a mask and my own pen and all this. And, my physical was scheduled for March, and it was rescheduled because of the Wuhan fun. Let's see. I probably shouldn't have mentioned the name of that virus because I think you get in trouble with YouTube if you talk about it, or at least that's the way it was a while back. That's why there's this one guy on YouTube that calls it the Wuhan Wiggle. Montegraph. I was watching him last night, fell asleep watching him, and had some interesting dreams. There's a Jack in the Box. They must have torn down an old building to build that. But it's one of those old-timey downtowns like you might see in American Graffiti. Everybody cruising up and down. The uptown is pretty good. I'm glad it survived. It's got a nice facade. There's a Mexican restaurant up here that's been there since the 60s. There it is. And it was originally the Griddle, which was a hamburger place. It's right there. It's called Don Juan's. It's got a little volcano in the front. They're all very little. It's really a spectacular place. I don't know if I get a good shot. I'm wearing sunglasses, so I can't really see if I'm getting a good shot. Yeah, this is the... So what I'll do is I'll come down here. This is Division Highway 80. And then I'll come up here and make a right on Beltline. That'll take me down to an old 7-Eleven building that's been converted into a comic shop. And it's a Thursday, so it's a good day to go to Cosmic Comics. Maybe I'll see the owner there. Maybe not, but you don't want to go on Saturdays or Sunday. Well, especially on Saturdays because they have these, what the hell do you call it? Not Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Not festivals, Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitions. And they kind of move everything to the side, and there's everybody on card tables competing. And that's something I never understood, and I don't want to insult you guys that are into those card game competitions. I never really understood any of that, and maybe because it involves math, or I don't know. I just never got into those card games. I never got into in high school when Dungeons. Well, that started in middle school, junior high. Everybody started to get into Dungeons and Dragons. Not everybody, some of the nerds that I hang around with started getting into that. And I remember there was some guy that got lost in tunnels under some university or something, and it was all in the news that some kid named, I don't know, some kid got lost playing real life Dungeons and Dragons down in tunnels underneath something or other. And then people started talking about how it was all satanic and all this crap. Who knows? Right lane ends. Oh, that's good. Good to know. All right, and up here you have this hellacious looking, used to be red brick. Looks like someone put something over it. Oh, there it is, the original brick down there. This is just like public housing looking horrible, like Soviet Union kind of living. So, yeah, this is not probably the best part of town. But you got Mike's Barbecue, never been there, but that's probably a good place there for some good Texas chainsaw barbecue. And then when you're done with the barbecue, you can go to this Tasty Ice. That's what those things used to look like. I don't know why they thought covering them with gray paint and everything is going to make them more cheery looking. I think we have a few more blocks before we get to Cosmic Comics. I don't really remember how far it is. Back behind us is a wax museum that has Frankenstein's monster and the creature from the Black Lagoon and all kinds of stuff. And it's got a Ripley's Believe It or Not attached to it. And I haven't been there in years, and I need to go there. What else? There's a big flea market in Grand Prairie called Trader's Village, and that's been there probably since the 60s. And you never really get anything good there. At least I've never seen anything good there as far as records or comic books. I think it's mainly a place to go to buy your hubcaps back after they've been stolen. Sometimes they have Native American dances there and stuff. Okay, I think we're coming up to Cosmic Comics Land. Turn on the air conditioner. Yeah, there it is over there. It's a building. Looks like it's been spray painted, but it's all superhero art that's been painted around it. Let's see how they're doing. They're supposed to have opened at noon, and it's 12:43. So imagine they'll be open. Cosmic Comics in Grand Prairie on Marshall Drive. There it is. You got Thor. I got black and white art on the side now. And there it is. This is a place I've been coming to since the 80s. It's a good place. The owner is a good guy. And come to Cosmic Comics. They actually have old comics. You know, these comic shops that don't have older comics, they're not, like Wild West comics here locally. I have no use for that. Anyway, I'll be back with you guys. Take care. On YouTube, if you don't already subscribe to a channel called Kirby Continuum, you need to do that because this is what's on playing right now on my television, and it's a brilliant channel. It's a sister channel to Fred Flix, so that's also something you need to subscribe to. It's spelled Fredflix. It's a guy out of either North Carolina or South Carolina. Impeccable taste. Every video he puts up is wonderful. But he has this Jack Kirby channel that you definitely need to subscribe to. So that is something you need to do. This is my dog, Drusilla. Anyway, subscribe to the Kirby Continuum. This is falling. This must happen from the wind. Oh dear. Man, all this stuff is going over. It was sad to hear about the passing of Ken Osmond, recently. Signing off. Hey, happy 4th of July, 2020. Thought I'd do a video showing some of the new acquisitions I picked up. I think I've been doing videos on YouTube now a year, just about a year, and I already have 41 subscribers, so I think I'm doing pretty well. I have put on way too much weight in the last month or two. I've never been this heavy in my life. I'm starting to look like the Attorney General. So, anyway, but it's very clear when I see myself in the video there. Let's see, picked up this copy of Action Comics number 309. Oh, and this light is not good. This reflection. Let's see, what else did I get? Boy, my vision. 307. It's hard to read of Adventure. It is really hard to read numbers on purple covers when the vision starts to go. Adventure number 319. Again, I'm not sure. I may already have this. I'm distracted because my dog is. Don't do that, Drew. Let's see. I picked this up at Cosmic Comics. The last video I did, I think I was on the way to Cosmic Comics and picked up this issue of The Brave and the Bold. And a couple of Bronze Age, early Bronze Age Conans. And this detective. Let's see, in the $2 bin at Duncanville Books, picking up Old Harvey Comics. The blue sticker means it's in the $2 bin. I've been also trying to fill in holes in my Fantastic Four collection. And let's see, got issue 29. I'll make a video soon showing all the Fantastic Fours together. Apparently I never had issue 64. Picked this up yesterday, issue 73. And this has a reputation as being the worst Jack Kirby issue. It's the Kirby Lee issue of Fantastic Four. And let's see, 119. This is after Kirby left. Let's see, also at Cosmic Comics, I picked up this issue of House of Secrets. I think this is also from Duncanville Books. I think the green sticker means the $5 bin. They have a $2 section, a $5 section, and then they have a select section where everything's 50% off, and a section where everything's 25% off, and then a section where everything is cover price. So if you're going to look for a particular issue of a particular comic, you have to look in a whole bunch of different places because there'll be Fantastic Four issues in all of those sections. Sometimes I'll find a better copy of something that's more pleasing to my eye in one of the discount bins than in the full price bin. That's weird. Little Archie, always love Little Archie. Let's see. I love these reprint titles, and this is the first issue from 1965. This was in the 50% off bin. It's not in the best of shape. Here is 1966 Marvel Collector's Item Classics. Dog's trying to eat the top of the box. This is issue 5. I may be buying things that I already have, which is the problem. So that's why I'm in the process of organizing everything upstairs, which I will show you as I do that. And hopefully I'll be losing weight as I do it. Issue of Metal Men, not in great shape. This is in the $2 bin. But I love Deputy Dog and Terry Toons. Cosmic Comics in Grand Prairie picked up some Sergeant Fury reprints from the early 70s. Just to read. Let's see. Strange Tales 132, also from Duncanville Books. This is issue 70 of Tales of Suspense. And I got a kind of a little bit of a run, and then I got 71, 72. This is kind of the era that was adapted into the animated 1966 Grantree Lawrence series. This is 73 and 74. Oh, and then I also got an 86. Got this one full price. I love the cover. And then I got a bunch of beat up copies of The Three Mouseketeers, but it's a comic I love. The very first comic book I ever bought was Choo Choo Charlie. And, but I think one of the second or third, I remember I got Laurel and Hardy. That was the first DC comic. It was the first comic I ever actually went to a store and bought myself. I was probably 5. What was that, about 1970? But they put out a few issues that reprinted The Three Mouseketeers in the early 70s. And this is actually a 50s comic. So these are the original stories, which are great. And so, these I'm buying to read. And hopefully I won't open them up and find that they're all cut up inside. But for right now, I'm not going to pass these up. I had even more. I didn't realize I got this many. The Three Mouseketeers, a comic I recommend. Certain comics that are just wonderful, like the 50s Rudolph comic that DC put out. This is a Walter Lantz comic I got from the $2 bin. And this is Cosmic Comics. This is the way comics were put out in comic stores for years. No backing board, just a bag. And this has probably been sitting on their shelf, in their back issue bins for 20 years or more. I got Blazing Combat number 3 for $5. The first set I covered. And just picked up some inexpensive copies. Eerie. Another Eerie. For a while in the 70s, Eerie kind of distinguished itself from the sister publication Creepy, and that it did superheroes and sword and sorcery and had continuing series. And the most popular one was The Rook, which was really good, time traveling guy, and that got its own magazine for a while. More trash from Mad. And when I was at Cosmic Comics, I found a new magazine that I have never seen, and so I'm going to have them start ordering it for me. They had only one copy, and the person that they were ordering it for wasn't coming in anymore or something, so they sold it to me, and they said, well, we can just continue ordering it. You can be the new person that we get it for. But yeah, it looks like something that is obviously up my alley. Yeah, definitely. So I bought that. I may already have this, but I love the Neil Adams cover of Savage Tales from early 70s. I bought several Savage Tales while I was in Duncan Books. This is what I'm showing you is what I've gotten in the last couple of months. This is not something I bought all in one day. But I have it all in this box, and I'm about to integrate it into my collection. And before I start filing it in, I thought I'd let you guys have a look at what I've been getting. Here's one of those Eerie publications. Eerie, the publishing company, not the magazine put out by Warren. And speaking of Warren, I got a couple of Amparellas, and I'm pretty sure I already have this issue. I've got a book, and I'm going to start writing down issues I need of certain titles, because I keep buying things again, and I'm pretty sure I already have this too. But I don't know, maybe buying things a second or third time isn't that bad, because maybe it'll just be an investment for the future. Who knows? Could be. Think of anything else fascinating. Well, it's July 4th, so be safe. And I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hey, it's July 4th, 2020. I was kidding on my last video when I said, I've been doing this YouTube video stuff for a year, and I have 41 subscribers, so I guess I'm doing pretty good. Because I think my wife has like 3 or 4 different YouTube profiles. Those are all subscribed to me, so it really isn't even that. In a year, you should have over 1,000 subscribers if you're doing it right. An old friend of mine, Max Stevens, has a YouTube profile called I Sell Old Records, all string together as one word. And he goes out and looks everywhere, thrift stores, flea markets, everywhere you can find for old 45 records, and people from all over the world subscribe to him. I think my problem is I don't, a couple of things. One is my personality is not that interesting, more than likely. But I think I collect too many things, and I'm interested in too many things. Well, I also don't post very much. But I think his deal is he's only into records, well, at least as far as his profile goes. So that's interesting to record collectors. But if you're a record collector and, you tune into someone's channel, and one time they're doing comic book videos, collection videos, next time they're talking about, I wanted to make a kind of a blog just about, kind of a diary. And I think I've got too many different interests. I started, at age 4, interested in toy trains. And then I really became interested in monsters and things. Then the monsters exploded in the early 70s and comic books, because the Comics Code was brought in what, 1955, and in order to strangle EC Comics and other horror comics publishers, they said, well, you can't have zombies, you can't have vampires, you can't have the living dead, you can't have this, that, the other thing, and made it so restrictive you really couldn't do monster comics. So that's why, when Morbius was first brought into Spider-Man, it was Morbius the living vampire, because he couldn't be technically undead. Anyway, so then early 70s, they relaxed the comics code, and then the comics companies put out a million, just a zillion, every comics publisher. DC had House of Mystery, House of Secrets, Unexpected, Ghosts, Secrets of Sinister House, just a million of them, and then Marvel did a whole bunch of horror reprints of their early 50s horror comics, and this is the early Bronze Age, and I was just buying up all that, and then I got into the Marvel superheroes from that, and then, I get into records, collecting music and movies and movie posters, so I don't have a world-class collection of anything, because unless you're a super rich person, you've got to collect one thing, and then you can have a world-class collection. And if I had started in the early 70s, when I first started discovering the Marvel superheroes, the Marvel heroes of the Silver Age had only been around about 10 years at that point. I could have mowed lawns, and I could have bought all those important first issues and everything, but at the time, my mother had this she grew up in the Depression, and buying things used was just the worst thing in the world. She didn't want me buying any used books, used magazines, used comic books, because they would bring in something called book lice, which she said was a thing. I've heard of bed bugs, but my mother talked about book lice, and she said they lived in these old books, in these old bookstores, flea markets. But man, so it wasn't until a few years later, when I'm, in the early 80s, I start buying, maybe late 70s, the old Silver Age comics from Lone Star Comics, and wherever I can find them. But when I'm real young, and those comics I could have maybe afforded some of them, or they were just, $1.50 for the Silver Surfer #1 or something like that. I could have done that, but I didn't, because my mom was just flipped out about bringing anything used into the house. It was just something disgraceful. So, what's done on that? Sorry, I'm wearing my wife's sunglasses. I've got a broken blood vessel in my right eye, so I'm seeing floaters float around. It's just really fun. So I've got a doctor's appointment. The doctor says it's not a big deal, but it's, hey, I don't like seeing these floaters. So, anyway, so what else can I say? Monsters are kind of what brought me into everything. The monster boom of the 60s was still going on in the early 70s, and monster model collecting. Oh, that's another thing. Model kit collecting, records, rock and roll, other genres of music, 45s, LPs, then later CDs, and then there was Laserdisc, and there's DVDs, VHS, and insane recording, now DVD, Blu-rays, all this, comic books, magazines, horror magazines, just movie posters, just everything. Just so many things that I have collected over the years. And so these are, to me, they're all one thing. To me, it's all kind of rock and roll culture. To me, rock and roll culture is movies. It's comic books, it's rock and roll, it's jukeboxes and pinball machines. To me, all of that is all different parts of the same thing.
What are you ready?
I'll have a beef holata platter with a large Dr. Pepper Easy Ice, please. No, that's it.
Another
All right, thank you. Sometimes when you go to these drive-thrus, people will say, I need this and I need that. It's like, I always say, I'd like this because, I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. Not when I'm 256 pounds. So I'm at Taco Bueno.
A million to one. That's what our folks need.
Pardon me. I notice some people on YouTube, they just get in their car and drive around and rant about things. And sometimes I'm more comfortable talking when I'm in the car. My wife hates it because she doesn't like being in the car, and the car gives her anxiety. So she don't want to hear any talking in the car. So, and that's the time when I'm most comfortable talking. Ironic. So. Yeah. I've been coming to this Taco Bueno location, which translated in English, it means good taco, for many years. Even got a big chunk of wood this big in my food once, and I still keep coming back. It's one step above Taco Bell. For those of you that live in California, it's better than Del Taco. When Del Taco came to town, it was run out of business in a few months because this place is actually better. Is it great? Hell no. In fact, it's kind of shitty sometimes. Sometimes it'll clean out your system. It says they're now hiring friendly people, so if you want to move here, they might hire you. It says due to county ordinances, customers are required to wear masks upon entry while maintaining proper social distancing. I'll tell you, what a weird world. I never thought I'd be able to walk into a bank wearing a mask, but I've done it several times, and it's a weird feeling. These masks, every time I see a mask, it just makes me angry. I wear them and all that. I'm not against them. I just, yes, please. Thank you. I just see assholes driving around wearing the mask in their car, and I see that these people really think they're wearing these masks to protect themselves and don't realize, well, it's really supposed to protect other people, and I don't know. I think things that I'm not going to say on YouTube, but I have a feeling, and I've said this before, and other people have said this, that this whole thing that's happening will suddenly be magically gone on November 4th or whatever the day is, the first day after the election. It'll just be gone because, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But it's interesting. The world is interesting. They say it's an old Chinese curse. May you, Chinese, that's ironic. There's an old Chinese curse, I believe it's Chinese. Maybe it's Japanese. May you live in interesting times. But you don't really want to live in the times that they write about in the history books. Because it seems like they always write about the really bad times in the history books. You have 20, 30 years of prosperity and peace. It's not interesting. It's not going to get anywhere. It's not going to be in the textbooks at all. And I guess being born in 1965, I lucked out that there were no wars that I could have been drafted into. And now at age 55, I'm too old to be drafted. So didn't live through any depressions. I lived through an oil crisis in the early 70s, but I didn't drive then, so it wasn't a big deal. I lived through a recession and going off the gold standard. So I did see comic books. You know, the first comic book I bought was 15 cents off the rack. And my older brothers were buying them when they were 12 cents. And I got to see them go up to 20 and then 25 cents, then 30, 35 cents, 40. Let's see, I think they went from 40 to 50. I don't think there were a 45 cent period. And by the 50 cent period, you know, once comics started to get UPC symbols in the bottom left-hand corner, that's about when comics weren't quite as interesting to me. And I don't think it was because I was growing up. I think the comics are changing. And by the late 80s and definitely into the 90s, you know, the 90s were, to me, an appalling time for comics. Some of the artists were terrible. And I know a lot of you guys got into comics in the 90s and you have wonderful memories of all this stuff. But that was when all comics were promoted as a collectible on the Home Shopping Network and this and that. And they put out all these covers that were, you know, embossed and these different variant covers and covers that shined and were, you know, raised like a greeting card. And, it had no interest in me. Yeah, that's what kind of drove me away, other than Kingdom Come. I remember that came out in the late 90s, and Alex Ross came along, and he was interesting. And then some of these other artists like Mike Allred and the guy that did New Frontier. I mean, these are the artists that came along that drew in the classic style. That's what interested me and would bring me back in. And now comics are too expensive to really buy, and they're too politically correct, and they're run by these SJWs. It seems like, from what I can see following on the internet. So I buy old comics. I'm never going to be able to get a world-class collection. I'm never going to be able to completely complete my Fantastic Four collection of Lee and Kirby. I just will never be able to afford to do that. But I'll buy what I like and things, and buy records when I can. But I'm never going to have a world-class collection or something that's going to give me 50 million subscribers. But hopefully I can get 1,000 subscribers. Maybe you can talk people into subscribing so that I can go live, because I like to do live discussions and talk with people live. I think that would be interesting. This is I've got an actual cloth mask now that my wife bought me. It's horrible. On a hot day, when it's, you know, in Texas, it can get to be 100 or more degrees, and then you keep the mask in your car and you put it on in the heat, and the mask is hot, and I don't know, it's not good, but it's what we got to do because we're all in this together. You know, we're all in this together. Okay, now the challenge of getting into the house. Okay. Well, I will see you soon. It's July 4th, 2020. Heading over to Kincaid's to get some hamburgers. And we're going to watch the big Washington, D.C. festivities on television on YouTube. We don't have cable anymore, and we cut ties to satellite, and now we're just watching TV with the antenna, and mainly just YouTube. Hearing the Beach Boys on a summer day reminds me of, there were two formative years from 73 to 75. We were living in San Antonio. I was going to Regency Place Elementary School, and San Antonio was my mom's hometown. And my father got stationed there at the Army base for 2 years, and so third and fourth grade, during third grade is when I really discovered the Marvel superheroes, and instead of just the Marvel horror. And let's see what else happened during those years. Wacky Packages, they were a huge phenomenon. I collected those voraciously and still have all of them. What else was big? Monster magazines, Mego dolls. Mego has actually come back lately. It's a collectible line of figures. The original creator of that line, Marty Abrams, is running it. It's mainly, I guess, distributed through Target. But they were called Mego dolls. To make no mistake, they weren't called Mego action figures at that time. What else? Yeah, it was just a great time. And my oldest brother, he was in college when I was in third and fourth grade. And my brother Steve would come back into town because he was going to school at UTA in Arlington, Texas, which is, 5 hours north of San Antonio. And he'd come down sometimes on weekends. And he had an old Ford Maverick, and he'd drive around, and I missed the turn. Now it's coming up. And he had an 8-track player, and some of the music that he would play and some of the music that I would hear on the radio in his car still, to me, is the music of summer. And he had a Beach Boys Endless Summer 8-track, and he had a Jim Croce Photographs and Memories 8-track, and I don't know, it was whatever his girlfriend at the time was listening to, I'm sure, because later on in the 80s, he was listening to Dan Fogelberg and just some of the most god-awful shit I've ever heard in my life. So I think he just had maybe a girlfriend in college that had good taste in music. But anyway, that's how I was first exposed to the Beach Boys. No, actually, I may have been exposed to the Beach Boys with the American Graffiti soundtrack. My other brother, I'm the youngest of 3 sons, and my oldest brother was born in, I guess, 52, and the second oldest brother was born in 54. So they were, I may be off, they were both about 10 years older than me. So my brother Mike was in high school, going to MacArthur High School while I was in elementary school. I came along much later. Obviously, I wasn't really planned. So my brother Mike bought the soundtrack to American Graffiti on the album, but he didn't have a record player, and I had my childhood record player, so he asked me to play it on my record player to make sure there were no skips in it. Because back then, in the 70s, you could buy a brand new record and take off the shrink wrap, and it would already sound like it was 10 years old because they weren't using the best vinyl in the 70s. Records oftentimes had a lot of skips and pops and hiss right from the beginning. So he wanted me to listen to it all the way through to make sure it was okay. You didn't have to go swap it out at the store. And of course, that exposed me to the music of the 50s and early 60s, and then the 8-tracks my brother was listening to, and then what was on the radio at the time. Even though the music of the 70s is very much scorned, or at least it was for a while, that was, when I hear the song Summer Breeze, that really brings back the summer day in San Antonio in the early 70s. Right now, the air conditioner's not working in this car, and that's not good. I only paid $4,000 for this car, and that was good. What's this? I'm going off to Kincaid's. There's some of the best hamburgers around. And then celebrate our July 4th. And let's see. I've been thinking a lot about ending this video. Arlington, Texas had the foresight back in the 1960s to bulldoze its downtown area and get rid of all of its history, including its mineral water well and everything and just they got rid of everything. And now they build new buildings to look like old buildings to try to recreate history, but it'll never happen because once you destroy the real history, it doesn't come back. You could build new things that look kind of, like this. We're in they call this the Highlands. Back in the 80s, I think it was, some wealthy developer took this land along I-20 and built like a mini Stonehenge, and everyone thought it was satanic and that they were out here sacrificing things to elder gods, and everyone was up in arms about it. But actually, it was just a place saver until they could build this giant shopping center that looks like an old town, and it's actually kind of cool. It's ridiculously busy in the Christmas time, but right now it's July 4th evening, and there's the movie theater. Not many people watching movies. I don't think there's any new movies coming out, and I don't even know when Black Widow or Wonder Woman are coming out. About the only movies I can think of right now. I saw the first Wonder Woman there at this theater, it looks nice, but it's one of those shitty theaters where they serve food while you're eating, which is a fucking nightmare. So the lights are never completely dimmed because you gotta eat your fucking food. But it's not really that safe when you got a police tower there. I don't know. Maybe it is safe. I just want to be cynical. But anyway, I came out here to pick up some cheeseburgers. This Kincaid's restaurant is really a great place. One of the best places to get hamburgers that I've ever found in my life. So yeah, Arlington's kind of a boring little commuter town, or it was. The late 50s, the young boy mayor Tom Vandergriff got General Motors to open a manufacturing plant in Arlington, and then the town started building up. And then in the early 60s, they opened up the very first Six Flags Over Texas amusement park. And then I think in the mid 60s, around 65, they got the Washington Senators, I think, to come here, and they renamed the Texas Rangers. Although now the Texas Rangers, that's a dirty word. There was a Texas Ranger statue in Love Field, the airport where Kennedy came into, and they just tore that down about a month ago because someone put out a book about how mean the Texas Rangers were to criminals and people. I don't know. So, everyone wants to look at the past with, I don't know. There's a lot of history being destroyed. I don't like to see history destroyed. I tend to preserve history, which is why I've become kind of a pack rat and a hoarder, I've been called. I like to preserve the pop culture past of, Americana. That's why I collect things. I want to preserve it. And, I'll probably be thrown in a dumpster at some point after I head off to the great beyond, but who knows? Maybe I'm doing a good thing. Don't have a whole lot of use for today's time period. You can't really turn on the radio and hear good music. So I just listen to talk radio, and talk radio. Oh, that's one thing. Back in the summer of '76, I kind of became addicted to talk radio. Back then, talk radio was very different. They would talk about UFOs, and they'd talk about things going on, but they really didn't get real political like most all talk radio is now, because they couldn't. There was a rule in place, the Fairness Doctrine, I believe it was called, where if you had a Republican on, you'd have to give equal time. That's what they call it. You'd have to give equal time to a Democrat. So for that reason, stations just didn't. They didn't even bother to put on any super political stuff. But now we've got a very important election coming up in November. A very important election, and it seems like it's kind of common sense which way to go. But I won't get too political here, although I'm sure you could probably figure out which way I would go if, based on which party wants to get rid of history, which party, because I don't know. There were terrible things that happened in the past, but I don't think we should destroy our history. Right over here on the other side of this strip center here is a cemetery filled with Civil War dead. This used to be way south of town, out in the country. The town has grown up, and remember, this used to be all country, where there was supposed to have been a lady called the Goat Lady that lived out here, and in the 80s, this was nothing. But now it's been built up into hideous strip centers, and I don't give a shit. Oh no, we have the Dallas Cowboys now too, by the way. So Dallas Cowboys don't actually play in Dallas. They never really have since the '60s. They've been, before Arlington, they played in Irving. But anyway, so my tax dollars go to support building giant stadiums. Oh, they had to build a new stadium for the Texas Rangers too, which, from what I hear, it looks like a warehouse. It's really ugly. So, my property taxes are now over $4,000 a year, and I really want to just move out in the country, away from all this nonsense where the property taxes are low, and maybe I can get a giant Victorian house, or go somewhere where I don't know, just away from the sword of Damocles that hangs over your head when you live in a very populated area. But now, see, my air conditioner comes and goes. It'll work for a little while, and then it shuts off. Then I have to turn it off, and then it's something to do with the condenser. I'm gonna have to get this fixed. But like I said in the last video, I only paid $4,000 for the car, and then I got some hail damage, and they declared the car a total loss because of the hail damage, and wrote me a check for about $5,000. So now I have a salvage title, but I was able to pay back the money that I borrowed to get the car, and then have an extra $1,000. So it's almost like I was paid $1,000 to take a car. It wasn't new, but it was new to me, and it runs well, and it has almost new engine put in it. Oh shit! I don't think I was supposed to do that. All right, nobody saw that though. You didn't see it either.
Um, so anyway, um, it's not the most horrible place to live, but I don't like to see history destroyed. And I'm seeing it every day in the news. Oh well. Let's see. Lots of okay, come on, air conditioner, work. It's air conditioner is something that needs to work in July in Texas in a vehicle. I'll roll my window down. Yeah. All right. So, whatever you do this November, make sure that you vote.
Civil defence is common sense. This is Boris Karloff. No one can guarantee the survival of every home during a nuclear war, but a strong civil defence can save millions of lives. Make sure that yours is one of them. Learn how to protect your home. Call Civil Defence today.
There's a kind of hush all over the world tonight. All over the world, you can hear the sound of lovers in love. You know what I mean? Just the two of us and nobody else. It's like there's nobody else, and I'm feeling good. Just hold on tight. So listen very carefully.
Well, I'm here at the cemetery in Arlington, Texas. About 11, 12 years ago, I decided that I would adopt a grave. I thought there's these graves that no one remembers, and I would take care of one and put flowers on it and learn about the person. And I adopted a grave in the back of this cemetery. Now, this is an old cemetery in downtown Arlington, and this is where all the people who the streets are named after are. The big streets in Arlington, like Cooper and Collins and Fielder. The families are all represented here, and their graves from the people that the schools are named after and things like that, and graves of Civil War veterans. Anyway, I found a grave in the very back corner of the cemetery, and there were no other graves anywhere near it. And I thought it was kind of mysterious. See, these all pretty close to each other. This grave was so far apart from everyone else. And I did some research and found that it was a young newlywed, and she came across the country to meet her husband here. And on the Iron Mountain train in Memphis, she contracted smallpox, and so she brought smallpox to this town. And her husband, I guess, got it briefly, or he was quarantined, but she didn't live very long. Smallpox was a terrible disease that's now pretty much eradicated. And when I found this grave,
the trees had grown over it, and it looks like that's happened again. See, the trees have grown and kind of hidden it. It's in the very back corner. Not long after I started putting flowers on this grave, someone adopted that grave, or maybe it's actually relatives of the person, but for years there were flowers here, but someone came and took them away. So I've come and I'm going to put some back, and these branches really needs to be cleaned. It's the grave of Hannah Vandiver, and she died February 1st, 1901. And anyway, I did some research and found that she, get this down. Well, I guess that's why, first of all, that's why no one put graves near her, because people were so afraid of smallpox, I guess. But she, I really gotta get these tags off of there. I'll get them after I shut off the camera. Yeah, I found that in her hometown, well, first of all, I was researching her husband, and I found because it says, it's really hard to see now, because some moss has grown. But her husband, I found, was, according to the records, the R.F. Vandiver was 40 years older than her. And I thought, well, that's not possible. So I found an old census, and I think what had happened is the son of this guy, R.F. Vandiver, had come to Texas, and he was using his father's name, because I think he probably didn't like the name he was given, because it looks like this, according to the census, this old Civil War veteran, this R.F. Vandiver, had a son named Dump and a son named General, and I think it's the son named Dump that moved here to Arlington. Probably didn't like that name. I think we married this young lady. Unfortunately, she passed away, smallpox. He remarried and is buried. I think he died in 1926 and is buried in Oklahoma. But I wish there was a way to clean this off. 12 years ago, this was very legible. They're really not doing a good job of taking care of the graves here. At least I've got some flowers there now. This grave over to the side, someone named Johnson, but they do have some flowers there. I want to get these flowers here tonight because it's supposed to rain the next couple of days, and it's kind of a summer tradition. I come here and take care of this grave. Anyway, I don't have anything much more fascinating to say. Take care. About 12 years ago, I adopted this grave. I found it in the very back corner of a cemetery, historic cemetery in Arlington, Texas. And you can see there's a long way. All this, I mean, it's way in the back, and there's not anyone buried anywhere close to it, except for this grave here. And the rest of the cemetery is pretty well, everyone's pretty close to each other, but she's way in the back, and this tree had grown over it. You couldn't even see it, and I cut it back, and I just came out here and cut it back a little bit and put some flowers there. Some moss has grown over it, making it hard to read, but she was a young lady of 21, Hannah Vandiver, and she died in 1901, early February 1901, after coming here to meet her husband. She was newlywed, and on the Iron Mountain train in Memphis, she caught smallpox and brought it to town, and her husband had to be quarantined. She died almost immediately after getting to Arlington, and so she's here alone. Her family is buried elsewhere, and I'm the guy that remembers her, and I've done all this research on the internet to find out about her. And so there's someone that cares about her. Her husband, within a year, had gone on and married someone else, unfortunately. And I think he's buried. I think he died in 1926 in Oklahoma. There's some confusion. If you could read this, it says that it says she's the wife of R.F. Vandiver. And if you look up R.F. Vandiver, that's a much older man that's 40 years older than her, from her hometown. But I think what actually happened is this is the son of R.F. Vandiver. He came out to Texas and was using his father's name because I don't think he liked his name. I looked at a census, and R.F. Vandiver, he had all these children. One was one he named General and one he named Dump. So I think the son that was born about 1879, 1880 was named Dump, and maybe that's why he took on his father's name. He didn't want to, when he came out here to start a new life in Texas. Anyway, he brought his wife to be with him, and she didn't make it, but she's going to be taken care of and loved by somebody. And so I got these flowers and have just put them here, and just keeping the sun off, giving her a little sun. And that's one of the weird things I do, especially during the summer. I'm always out here making sure that her grave is taken care of. This is a very historic cemetery. Just remember, Hannah Vandiver, that you are loved and cared about by someone. And this cemetery has graves of people that are important to the town's founding. Schools, you'll see names of schools and streets. Cooper, Collins, Fielder, those are Davis. You'll see those names all around, and you'll see a lot of graves from 150 years ago. Used to be a lot of Confederate flags out here on the graves of Civil War soldiers. People don't do that much anymore. It's really a beautiful cemetery. I think this might be the Collins lot here. I'm probably wrong. There's Cooper. Cooper's one of the major streets here. So apparently it was an important family. Sometimes you'll see these graves out here that are made to look like wood stumps. That died in 1912, born in 1884. It's Woodmen of the World. It's some kind of fraternal organization of people that cut down trees. This is a very festive one. This one's really taken care of. I'm not sure who this person was. Must be a little child. This is way in the back. This is the older part of the cemetery. And there is a section in the front that's more from modern times. Here's the Collins family. Boy, look at that. Some over there. There's a grave out here, a small child that died right at the turn of the century, into the 1900s, and the person that was carving was so used to carving dates in the 1800s because they'd done it all their career, and to type, to chisel in 19 was a new thing at the beginning of the century. He puts I think the birth date is 1901 and the death date is 1801, and I guess they have the right dates but not the right year. I guess they didn't want to redo the gravestone, but there's a storm blowing in, so I thought I'd come out here and put those flowers here, and I'm off. Well, it's Thursday, July 9th, 2020, and what I'm doing is up in the comic book room, and I'm still attempting to segregate Silver Age from Bronze Age and up. So I've done these boxes and these, and I still need to go through all those. So I have a pretty modest sized collection, but just having fun looking through some old issues. This Spider-Man special is all reprints, but it's fun to read, and wonderful old ads. $7 for a nuclear cardboard sub. So that needs to be bagged and boarded and put into, well, what I'm doing is, as long as it's got the corner box, I'm considering it Silver Age. So my cutoff, although it's not technically accurate, as a comic is Silver Age if it's got the corner box. And as far as DC, when they went to the 25 cent, I consider that the beginning of the Bronze Age. Not totally accurate, but that's just easy for me to do this. And it's a ridiculous project. I'm not sure why I embarked on it, but I've done it, so I got to keep going with it. So anyway, I'm pulling out certain comics from these boxes here and putting them into these boxes. Certain issues that I think are more interesting, I'm pulling them out and putting them into these boxes first. Then I'll go and do the generic rest of them. So these are just a few I just pulled out of these boxes. So I'll look at them along with you. So anyway, wonderful Ditko reprints. So special 6 and 8. Okay, this is supposed to be valuable from what I'm understanding. So this is about when I stopped. Well, when they went to the black costume is when I was starting to think, well, but I'm kind of kidding. I know this comic has some value. I'd have to look it up. But I made sure I treated my comics well, and I made sure that they're always squared perfectly when I picked out the copies. So anyway, I kind of am like, the problem with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 is he was an old school Spider-Man fan like me, and he didn't know who Venom was or really care, and it was forced on him to put Venom into that. So by Avi Arad, he made him shoehorn Venom in, and clearly he didn't like it and couldn't relate to it, and it made for a really bad movie. Spider-Man 1 and 2 were great, especially Spider-Man 2. There's an old photograph I have from before I was born where I see my older brother as a little kid holding a Space Mouse comic. Not sure if it was this one or this one. I'll have to go back and look. So I never inherited those comics, so I've gone back and tried to find Space Mouse comics when I can. Um, Joe Simon, Brother Power the Geek, one of the weirdest attempts to sell comics to hippies. Anyway, Brother Power the Geek. My last few issues. Okay, so this would be Silver Age. So I'll put this in this pile along with a space. Oh, you can see what I'm doing. Space mouse. I see. I don't know. I guess I should have a separate box for underground comics. I've just been putting all the comics together alphabetized. I really shouldn't have ever stopped doing that because it's so much easier. And someone was just watching a video on YouTube. Someone said this is an issue that's very valuable. So I better listen to them. It's the 9/11 issue of Spider-Man. This is another one of those Spider-Man specials. This one reprints the magazine that came out in '68. I don't know if it's a shortened version or not. So this is a great Silver Age comic. Herbie the Fat Fury. Oh, this is a wonderful ad. Need to get better lighting in here. Oh, and more. Sorry, I've got the soundtrack to Grease playing in the other room. It's probably going to flag me for copyright. Let's see. This is a Spirit comic from the early 70s put out by Kitchen Sink. Kitchen Sink tried to put out several issues in 1972, reprinting old Spirit comics, but giving them kind of a racy new cover. Try to sell it to underground audiences. The insides aren't quite this racy. But, oh yeah. So, anyway, Warren got the rights shortly after and put out a Spirit magazine for a few years. And then Kitchen Sink took over from there in the late 70s. But that's something that's neat. This is cool. An EC in terrible condition, but it's always cool to see an EC comic. Not a reprint. And like whenever you see on the internet, whenever there's an article and then underneath people start talking about the article, there's always people saying, I made this much in 1 week. And that stuff has always been around. We're looking at this in the early 50s. EC Fan Addict Club. This was the sister publication to Mad. It was not written by Harvey Kurtzman, so it was not as funny, but it had the same artist. So it was this cover is actually folded. Yeah, not in good shape, but let's see what else I've got. Some Shield issues. Steranko cover. And for those of you that actually thought the TV show would be anything like this, we were all sorely disappointed. You know, I was hoping that when they created the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show that it would have the feeling of at least Man from U.N.C.L.E., but it just became a very boring show, and that was a disappointment. More Steranko. You don't find Western comics very often. Let's see. Marvel family. Or should it be the Shazam family? Bullshit. It's like Baba Booey on the Howard Stern show. Let's see. Not in great shape, but you know, it's fun to read. Yeah, this is the real Captain Marvel, not Brie Larson. This is at the very end of the run. And in the early days of, in the early 70s, when they relaxed the comics code and Marvel and DC started doing horror comics, and some of the early covers by Bernie Wrightson, this one's from 1974, this it really did a good job of recreating the look of an EC Comics, a horror comic. They weren't as good, but this cover is just beautiful. I'm not saying that they weren't good. They just weren't as good as EC. Look at this wonderful art. Patches. Another great cover that looks very much like an EC. This one I bought off the rack as a second grader. So this is also bought by me. That's unusual. I usually tried to make sure comics were squared. But I'm sorry, I was 7 years old. You know, I never got the first issue of Howard the Duck. I've got a complete run other than that. And I'm sure that this has some significance. I happen to have 2 copies of this for some reason, and one is a 30 cent. I guess that's a variant. Maybe it's worth, I assume it's probably worth more money. I'm sure someone will tell me, or I can just look it up myself. I'm not that lazy. These old crime comics are wonderful. This is a rather tame cover. Kirby, but very tame. This is what you normally got with a crime comic. Something like this. Yeah, Crime Does Not Pay was a great comic. This is an example of what the Comics Code was trying to do away with. It was a huge selling comic as well, because comics were read by adults back then as well, the World War II generation. I guess that has some value. There's a million of them out there. These are reprints of Not Brandak. Not Brandak is a comic I dearly love. They had new covers, though, by Marie Severin, and they're beautiful. And if you're not familiar with Not Brandak, it was Marvel's 60s attempt to parody their comics and other companies' comics and do it in a early Mad Harvey Kurtzman style. I have 2 copies of this issue. It has a beautiful new cover by Marie Severin as well. I mean, really worthy of framing. But this was the issue that I first discovered. A kid at school in 3rd grade had this issue, and I traded him for a really bad cut-up copy of this. I mean, really one of the worst condition comics I've ever seen, but I had to have it. And then later I went back and found that it was, reprints of Not Brandak, and found all the original issues. But it just hasn't. Once I got the origins of Marvel Comics, the Stan Lee book, and it reprinted the first issue of Fantastic Four, and I realized this is panel by panel a parody of the first issue of Fantastic Four. This James Bond. Yeah, they try to do all the. Yeah, so you can compare panel by panel. It's just wonderful Marie Severin art. I mean, Marie Severin is a genius. Her coloring. She was a colorist for the EC Comics in the 50s, and she's a very look at this beautiful art. She passed away a few years ago. Someday people will appreciate her art. Someone's already put out a book about her, but I wonder how they credited this. Okay. Aided and abetted. Okay, so they say created by Stan the Man Lee and Jack King Kirby. These are using the layouts. Aided and abetted. She completely redrew it. I would think that they would give her more credit. And then it was inked by Tom Sutton. Also in this issue is a wonderful, this is the last panel, where Superman kind of gives up to all the new Marvel heroes, but it's a parody of just how many, how extreme the whole Superman family became. And, oh boy, this comic is one of the most, this is just a great comic. didn't even know I owned this. I've been looking at this thinking, I wish I had that, and I actually own it. Because I bought a lot of these comics in the 80s, and I keep buying shit stuff, and I keep realizing, oh, I've got 2 copies of that. Now that's Creatures on the Loose. Oh, what a wonderful cover this is. What a wonderful cover. Wow. Dark Shadows comic. I've got to bag and board all this stuff. I've got a huge job ahead of me. I don't even know what this is. Dark Stars. I guess I bought it trying to try it out. Okay. So that's Donna Troy. There's lots of cool stuff. 100-page specials. There's a great issue reprinting Plastic Man stuff. Oh, Another Crime Does Not Pay. Wonderful. Okay. So, what do I need to do? I just realized that I have 2 copies of the first appearance of the Black Widow. I was just happy I had one. And because I'm putting everything together from different boxes. Here's Not Brandeck. That issue I was just showing you Crazy. This is what it originally looked like. This is the original cover. It's issue number 7. You need to seek it out. Let's see. Oh, and before, there was another attempt where Harvey tried to bring back the Spirit. This is before Kitchen Sink tried to bring it back. Then it went to Warren and then back to Kitchen Sink. That's a wonderful cover. A lot of the comics I've been showing you that I've been buying at Duncanville Books, it turns out I already have them. Like, here's an example, Metal Men. And, that's the one I just got. And I already had it, but my original copy, no, wait a second. No, I don't know what I did. Something insane. So I've got a bag for these comics. I don't know if Brother Voodoo is, I think he's got a different name now. I think he's now named Dr. Voodoo, and I think he's going to be possibly appearing in the new Doctor Strange movie. I'm not sure. That one's in okay shape. So I've got to get all of this stuff bagged and boarded. Well, I need to go through all my Fantastic Fours as well. This is my first issue, 15. This one's had the title cut away. Need better lighting in here too. And then this is an example of a comic I now have twice because I bought it again recently. So, wow. Just looking at these old, it's just so much fun just to look at these old covers. And I'm going to make this room very relaxing to sit in or just read. I've got to get more light because my eyes are starting to go. And make this comfortable. This is going to take a while, this project, but I don't know. I guess, I've got nothing but time. So I guess if there's anything else I could show you that's fascinating. I don't think so right now. So take care and remember, we're all in this together. 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 Hey, I thought I'd do a quick video up in the comic room organizing things. Wanted to tell a little quick story. I think I've told it before. I was homesick in elementary school, and my mother had this tradition of when I was homesick from school, she'd go out and pick up 2-3 comic books for me, and she just picked random comics, and just to make me feel better. And this is a comic she picked up for me. So I didn't pay even 25 cents for this. So, and for those of you that don't know, this is the first appearance of the Wolverine. Let's see. Mostly I kept it in pretty good shape. Although issue 181, if I was just sick a month later, it would have been much better, because that's the one that has Wolverine on the cover fighting the Hulk, and that's the one that's worth many thousands. And this one is not worth as much, even though it's technically the first appearance of the Wolverine. He only appears like in the last panel, and so it's really considered a cameo, but it is the first appearance. But the second appearance of the Wolverine is the one that's worth the big money, but I'm not selling it, so it doesn't really matter. But it's a neat story that I have that issue, and I didn't pay anything for it. There's Groot, late period Kirby. He couldn't see too well. Anyway, I'm in the Bronze Age section that I'm starting to put together. Whoa, why is there an Inferior 5 in the Bronze Age? What a mistake. These are Silver Age. Oh, the Inferior 5. Oh, and that's not a real Captain America comic. This is a replica that came out. It has, you can tell it's a replica, even though it has the original price. It has modern ads for like Stridex and shit like that in it. Hold on. Move a few things around. This is just, it's like a Rubik's Cube trying to fix everything in here. I never could do the Rubik's Cube. Okay. So, Sugar and Spike.
Ooh, that's cool.
I have to tell you, this is a great comic. I think I've mentioned it before.
God, I look horrible.
There's Boom.
Well,
Yeah, it turns
two
out
people watching,
I've got
and I'm
two
probably
copies
one of them.
And the significance is that it's the first appearance of the Black Widow. And
Yep.
I just discovered today that
Pull the limo around.
I knew I bought one from Jason Cohen at
no,
store
not today. Pull the limo around, parking in front of the building.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah,
I have two
I've got to
copies
run.
of 72 as well.
All right, take care.
That's the problem. I keep
I
several
wanted to show you
decades
something.
forgetting what comics I own, and then going crazy in comic stores and buying the same things over again instead of issues
we're now live.
that I really need.
What?
For that,
I think we are.
I'm going to make this quick video.
Okay.
So if I'm...
Okay, I want to show you something. I'm going to end this broadcast. Nobody's watching anyway. Well, somebody is somewhere, but you can go back and watch all of these old episodes in better video quality if you just go to my my archive, the Gratu Orloff Show from the beginning. It's one of the playlists that I've created, and you just go to my YouTube page. You can do that. But I wanted to show you something I've been playing around with. I just got downloaded Spotify, which most of you probably had for 10 years. But I thought I'd play around with it, right? So I created a playlist on Spotify. Some of you have been saying, well, why can't we have a Gratu radio station where you can, you know, I better get a better camera angle as I'm showing all the trash. Anyway, Paulo says, I'm supposed to be working, yet here I am. And Night Tigers was checking in from the great state of Texas, and Tylox was here, and Shannon, and D. Jones. Anyway, I'm going to do a real show maybe this evening or tomorrow. But anyway, if you go to Spotify, you have to download Spotify first of all. And I'll show you how this works. Okay, so you open up Spotify. Damn it. How do I get this? Well, anyway, I'll show you. Hold on. Having a little bit of difficulty here. Well, anyway, I have a playlist, and it's called Gratu Orloff's Music to Read Comic Books By. And it's got 68 hours and 27 minutes worth of music. So what you've got to do is put it on a shuffle so that the songs play at random, and then you just press the green button, play, and then you can beam it to whatever devices you have. But anyway, so look for the picture of Batgirl, Gratu Orloff's Music to Read Comic Books By. I don't know how Spotify works. I don't know if you get, is it a popularity contest? Do people like put likes on it, or do you see how many people like your library? I don't know. But anyway, that's what I've done. And several days worth of accumulating music. I've got almost 70 hours, so that'll entertain you for a better part of a week, right? So tune that in and tell me what you think of it, and suggest songs that I could add to it. And I've tried to keep it pretty clean, so you could play it in your store if you're a business owner. I don't know. God, I look awful. Anyway, whatever. I'm gonna ring off, and I'll see you guys this evening. Take care. Oh, Paulo says, let's see. I had Spotify on my phone for years, never used. Not even Joe Rogan moving there made me want to use it. Yeah. Maybe you'll like this playlist, and maybe you've got some ideas, Paulo, to of songs to add to it. But yeah, I never had Spotify either, but all these people kept playing their Spotifys around me, and I realized, God, they're awful. Their taste wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as wonderful as mine. So I thought I'd make my own station. I call it a radio station, but you got to put it on shuffle, and then it'll give you songs at random, and it'll be perfect. If you just listen to it and let it play in order, it's not going to be as cool. Anyway, I will see you guys later. Take care. Yeah, let's see. How do I stop this in broadcast?